Tensions in Gaza have reached a dangerous new level as Hamas militants carried out a series of coordinated strikes on Israeli forces. The attacks included mortar fire on an IDF command center and the destruction of an Israeli Merkava tank near Gaza City. Welcome back to Planet Stream, your window into global conflicts, defense updates, and geopolitical developments shaping our world. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay informed with real-time insights from around the planet. The situation in Gaza has intensified once again. After weeks of rising tension and small-scale skirmishes along the border, Hamas launched a large and organized assault targeting several Israeli Defense Forces positions. According to both local witnesses and regional defense sources, this new wave of attacks is one of the most coordinated offensives Hamas has executed in recent months. The strikes began early in the morning, when Hamas militants fired a barrage of mortar shells toward an Israeli command headquarters stationed near the eastern edge of the Gaza Strip. Witnesses described the sound as deafening, a relentless series of explosions that shook nearby neighborhoods. The IDF confirmed that some of its forward command posts sustained damage, though the full extent of casualties remains unclear. In the aftermath of the mortar barrage, Israeli drones and reconnaissance aircraft began circling over the area, scanning for launch sites. Yet before the Israeli response could fully materialize, Hamas expanded its operation, striking multiple military vehicles patrolling near the border fence. The most significant of these strikes targeted an Israeli Merkava tank, one of the most advanced and heavily armored tanks in the world. Footage shared online, though still unverified, appears to show smoke rising from a damaged tank, with militants celebrating the successful hit. Hamas's military wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, later claimed responsibility, stating that its fighters used a guided anti-tank missile to strike the vehicle during an Israeli ground maneuver. Israeli military officials have acknowledged that one armored unit came under fire, confirming that an incident involving a tank occurred near the border with Gaza. However, they have not provided details on casualties or the level of damage sustained. In response, the Israeli Air Force immediately launched a counter-operation, striking what it described as terrorist positions across several parts of the Gaza Strip. Loud explosions echoed through Gaza City and Khan Yunis as Israeli jets targeted Hamas facilities, weapons depots, and suspected rocket launch sites. Residents reported heavy bombardment that lasted for more than an hour, shaking buildings and lighting up the night sky. According to Palestinian sources, several casualties were reported among civilians who lived near the targeted zones. Emergency crews rushed to evacuate injured individuals while Hamas units spread out to avoid further Israeli retaliation. The exchange marked yet another deadly chapter in the ongoing conflict that has plagued the region for decades. The IDF released a statement soon after the strikes, asserting that Israel will continue to defend its citizens and respond firmly to all attacks emanating from Gaza. It also warned Hamas of severe consequences if hostilities continue. Meanwhile, Hamas framed its attacks as an act of resistance against what it called Israeli aggression and occupation. Analysts believe this escalation could have deeper implications. The timing of the attack coincides with heightened regional instability, growing political divisions inside Israel, and an increasingly volatile situation along the Lebanese and Syrian fronts. For Hamas, such operations serve both military and symbolic purposes, demonstrating capability and maintaining support among its base after months of Israeli raids and blockades. Observers note that the targeting of a Merkava tank carries particular significance. The Merkava has long been viewed as a symbol of Israeli military dominance, boasting advanced armor, defensive systems, and firepower. Damaging or destroying such a tank sends a strong message, both to Israel and to the broader Arab world, about Hamas's tactical evolution and access to more advanced weaponry. Defense experts suggest that Hamas's growing arsenal, including guided missiles, mortars, and small drones, indicates external support from regional allies such as Iran. Over the past few years, Hamas has shifted from improvised rocket fire to more sophisticated, coordinated operations. The precision of today's attack reflects that ongoing transition. Inside Gaza, residents described scenes of chaos and fear as Israeli warplanes roared overhead. Families huddled inside their homes, listening to explosions that rattled windows and shook the ground. Electricity outages and communication disruptions made it difficult to assess the full scope of the damage in the hours following the attack. Meanwhile, in Israel, air raid sirens sounded across southern towns, forcing civilians into shelters as mortar rounds landed near populated areas. The sense of vulnerability, even in heavily fortified regions, reignited debates over the government's security strategy and its ability to prevent such cross-border attacks. Diplomatic reactions began pouring in within hours. Egypt and Qatar, both of which have acted as mediators in past ceasefire agreements, issued urgent appeals for restraint. The United Nations called for an immediate halt to the violence, warning that continued escalation could lead to another full-scale war. Despite these appeals, neither side showed any sign of backing down. Hamas leaders vowed to continue resisting what they call Israeli aggression, while Israeli officials stressed their right to respond decisively to all acts of terror. The tension on the ground remains palpable, and the situation could deteriorate rapidly if additional attacks occur. As the smoke cleared from the day's confrontations, images from Gaza revealed widespread destruction, damaged buildings, burning vehicles, and residents searching for survivors beneath the rubble. The psychological toll on civilians, already enduring years of blockade and economic hardship, deepened further. For many, it felt like history repeating itself, another cycle of violence in a conflict that seems endless. Military experts caution that both sides are now locked in a pattern of retaliation that leaves little room for diplomacy. Each strike begets another, and every counterattack fuels anger on the other side. The humanitarian cost continues to rise, with innocent civilians trapped in the middle of an unending struggle for control and survival. International observers warn that the situation in Gaza could soon spiral into a wider regional confrontation if neighboring countries become involved. The possibility of coordinated actions from other militant groups or retaliatory moves along Israel's northern border adds another layer of danger. Inside Israel, the government is under mounting pressure to demonstrate strength, while simultaneously facing criticism for failing to prevent the latest attacks. The Israeli Prime Minister convened an emergency security meeting, vowing to hold Hamas accountable and defend Israeli citizens by all necessary means. For Hamas, the attacks serve not only as retaliation but as a message, a declaration that despite years of blockades, targeted assassinations, and airstrikes, the movement remains capable of striking deep into Israeli military infrastructure. The morale boost among its supporters in Gaza and across the Arab world is evident in the public celebrations that followed the reported tank strike. But for civilians on both sides of the border, the renewed hostilities bring only fear and uncertainty. Parents in southern Israel once again find themselves guiding children into bomb shelters, while families in Gaza brace for the next wave of airstrikes, wondering whether they will survive the night. As darkness fell over Gaza, the sky glowed with the light of flares and tracer rounds. The echoes of explosions faded, replaced by the distant hum of drones circling overhead. For now, an uneasy calm has settled, but everyone knows it won't last long. Each side is preparing for what could come next, and both are aware that another misstep could ignite a much broader conflict. The world watches closely, hoping that international diplomacy might intervene before it's too late. Yet, in this long and bitter struggle, hope has often been in short supply. The Gaza Strip remains one of the most volatile flashpoints on Earth, a place where each act of violence reverberates far beyond its borders. And as night gives way to dawn, the region braces once more for the sound of sirens, the roar of engines, and the thunder of explosions, echoes of a conflict that refuses to end. Thank you for watching Planet Stream. Stay tuned for more in-depth analysis and real-time updates on the world's most critical events. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay informed, stay aware, and keep your eyes on the planet.